Welcome to my new Octatrack MK2 from Elektron. I have quite some experience with the Digitone and Digitact, but I felt always very limited because the Digitone, for example, is an FM synthesizer with 4 voices and it can play wonderful kick and bass and drum sounds, but at the end of the day it's a synthesizer. And so I thought the Octatrack here with a lot of samples you can put on a compact flash card and insert it into the machine, you have a chance of a bigger and wider variety of sounds. You can address a specific sample, one per trick, into these 8 voices, and the step sequencer logic, you can place the specific sound on a position in your step sequence, which is running. So if this here would be a kick sound, boom, 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 and you do this with all instruments, and then you have a kind of sequenced melody. You can for sure change with effects, with mute function. You can mute and unmute instruments. You can record your own samples if you like. You can play vocals onto your track. You can address MIDI signals to other gear. This is a very complex machine, but I start at the very beginning. I start with what's here on the track itself, and Elektron, the Elektron team, put every time a kind of factory presets. They are on pattern number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. So the first idea that I have with this new piece of gear, before I read any manual, I just want to listen what it can do. So please be invited to join me listening to these factory presets. So this was a very nice demonstration of the sounds of this Octatrack MK2 sampler. And I asked myself where all these samples. I would like to take a look into the compact flash card and how other samples are organized. And there is a project knob and these buttons here with the arrows, and you go on system. On system you find card tools, and on card tools there is something which is a file manager. And on those file manager you have a folder audio, and then audio you find Elektron, Loop Master, Origin Sound, Sample Magic, and Sample from Mars. And here are the samples, Elektron specific, Loop Master specific. You can open this directory, you find different directories, loops, sounds, and FX. Origin Sound, drum, music, single hits, effects, etc. And drum loops, you can realize that there is always a separation. There is a complete loop, a longer chain of music, and there are just hits. So you have the chance to address a longer sound on your step sequence, or just a pop, 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 just the hit, just the sound of itself. It is the same logic as in every software, in every DAW, everywhere, loops or hits. You can open, and then you see the specific files. You get an idea of the number of files, and I read from the manual that with function and yes, you play the sound of a sample. So what I did then was just listen to a few samples. So this was very nice, and we get an idea of what's the sounds, the structure like if you put these samples on this machine. I read from the manual that there are 64 gigabyte you can address, and 64 gigabyte of samples is quite a lot, so you will never run out of music. You can, per project, address 128 slots, which means that you can address 128 of these samples into one project. So you can put from these 128 samples with your 8 voices different configurations. For me, this is quite a lot, and I think if you make music, you will be fully satisfied that this amount is enough. The third thing that I did with the Octatrack was that I copied the preset project under my name, made a new bank, B1, and under B1 I tried to sequence a little bit a small song just for myself with 3 voices. Under T1 I had a specific sound with a piano. Under T6 I found a special ambient sound, and under T2 I put in a beat. So we have just 3 voices, 3 instruments, a piano, a synthesizer and a beat. And best is then that you go on your pages. I put 64 steps. This is the maximum. It allows you maximum variety. You go on this record button, and here you can now place the tricks on your different pages. Now you see on page number 1 for the piano, I put in this sound, then the tricks run, and the next sound. This is all. I just put 2 tricks for the piano, and what I did with the second, I pressed it and changed the pitch a little bit. So now we have variety in that sound. We have bim and then bim. That's all. With number 6, T6, we have exactly the same thing. I placed the trick on number 1, and then also on the 3rd page on number 1, and did exactly the same. I changed the pitch, and with the beat it was quite easy. The beat on number 6, I figured out a nice beat from the sample menu. I just played the beat on the first trick, and it was a loop because this means it is long enough. So I just have 1 trick. So this completely melody that you now hear is with 5 tricks in this sequence.